This is Andrew Yang, the entrepreneur and former Democratic presidential candidate. Now, I was hoping to never have to do another video dedicated to Mr. Yang, but now he's back in politics, and I don't really have a choice. So before we start, here's a refresher moment of Andrew Yang at the first Democratic presidential debate.
Mr. Yang, your signature policy is to give every adult in the United States $1,000 a month, no questions asked.
That's right.
I think that's like $3.2 trillion a year. How would you do that?
Sorry?
So, despite his lackluster debate performances and the fact that his polling average never rose higher than 5%, his supporters, known as the Yang Gang, were absolutely convinced that this man was going to be the next president of the United States. And the Yang Gang was very generous. According to the Federal Election Commission, Yang raised over $40 million for his presidential campaign and burned through it all without winning a single delegate in the Democratic primaries. Not much of a return on investment, huh? Anyway, after endorsing Joe Biden for president, Yang was in talks for a possible position in the Biden administration.
Joe and I have actually been talking about a new position that doesn't exist yet, but should, around technology and innovation. But those conversations have been very general, so to TBD.
But then something changed.
So I'm gonna assume you didn't get offered anything worthwhile or anything at all.
The truth is, Charlemagne, I ended those conversations because I saw that my city needed me.
In other words, yeah, he wasn't offered anything.
And then I said, look, sorry guys, I appreciate all the work that you put in to figuring out where I fit in the administration, but I've got another mission now.
And what exactly is Andrew Yang's new mission?
I am so thrilled to announce to you all that I am running for mayor of New York City.
Fun fact, according to records from the New York City Board of Elections, despite living in the city for 24 years, Andrew Yang has never voted for mayor. You know, the office he's running for.
I'm running for mayor for a very simple reason. I see a crisis and believe that I can help.
So, Andrew Yang put out a video produced by director Darren Aronofsky for some reason, titled Why I'm Running, which includes Yang eating pizza, skateboarding, randomly playing a piano on the boardwalk in Coney Island, and hanging with his wife on the Brooklyn Bridge while wearing a mask, even though they're outside and all alone.
I ran for president because I saw that the economy was not working for everyday Americans.
60% of small businesses are shutting down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wonder whose fault that is. Oh wait, it's the Democrats. Also China.
We're going to reopen 15,000 businesses in NYC during my first year.
So if your business is closed now, help is on the way, because with Mayor Yang, you might have a chance to reopen sometime before the end of 2022. Don't worry, 2 years? It flies by.
We need to rebuild New York not as it was, but as how it deserves to be.
That's right, everyone. We need to build back better. Now, if you've been paying attention, you know what the centerpiece to Yang's campaign is. Free money.
As mayor, we will launch the largest basic income program in the history of the country, right here in New York.
According to Yang's campaign, 500,000 New Yorkers live in extreme poverty, and each of those New Yorkers would receive an average of $2,000 a year in basic income. This would initially cost the city, i.e. taxpayers, $1 billion per year. So, what's Yang's reasoning for it? As studies of basic income programs have shown, lifting people up from the depths of poverty increases mental and physical health while decreasing crime. It increases happiness and satisfaction while reducing stress. It gets the economic boot off of people's throats, allowing them to lift their heads up, breathe, and get excited for the future. So to summarize, an average of $166 a month is going to increase happiness while reducing crime, stress, hospital visits, and homelessness. It's like magic. Any New Yorker, regardless of their immigration status, will be eligible to receive cash relief. So potentially tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars would be going to undocumented immigrants? Sure, love it. But if someone is undocumented and doesn't file for taxes, then how will the Yang administration be able to confirm if they are living in extreme poverty? Who cares? It's only money.
We are the world's financial capital. Does it make sense to anyone here that 12% of New Yorkers are unbanked or underbanked?
If someone is unbanked, it is generally because they want to be unbanked. So why should it be the city's responsibility to force them to get a bank account? And underbanked is a term used for people who have a bank account but don't have access to credit cards and loans, probably because they have bad credit and or don't have collateral. And as if the city didn't have enough to deal with, Yang thinks that this is their responsibility to fix.
We'll also launch a people's bank that makes financing and banking available to working people and small businesses across our 5 boroughs so they don't have to turn to check cashers or money lenders who charge extortionate rates.
Okay, Yang saying that check cashers charge extortionate rates is slander. Pursuant to New York State banking law, check cashing places can only charge a maximum of 2.11% on any check cashed. Whether you agree with it or not, many people use check cashing services because they like the convenience of getting their money instantly, as opposed to depositing a check and having to wait for it to clear. And I'm not recommending using a check cashing place over getting a checking and savings account, but again, why is it the city's responsibility to drive people away from using them? So while there is nothing stopping a consumer from shopping around and finding a bank or credit union that has reasonable fees, Yang's solution for the city is to create a bank that these New Yorkers might not even want to use. Another reason people don't have a bank account is because there may not be enough bank branches in poor neighborhoods. So does that mean that the People's Bank is going to have physical branches all over the city? Who knows? By the time this video was released, details were very thin, including how much capital will New York be directing to the People's Bank, or how will their lending practices work? All I know is that it's never a good idea to give out loans and mortgages to people who can't afford to pay them back. But then again, maybe Andrew Yang secretly yearns for the days of the subprime mortgage crisis, I don't know.
We'll bring New York City into the 21st century by getting everyone high-speed internet so our kids can learn.
Hire more teachers and reduce the class sizes. I think that would make a big difference. It's hard, when you have a class of 30 kids.
So he wants to get everyone on the internet so that they can homeschool, but at the same time, hire more teachers to reduce class size? Confusing, I know. Let's look at the policy on the campaign website. Open schools. Schools aren't just important for education and socialization, they feed students and are a hub for social services. So physically open the schools. Got it. Recruit talented young New Yorkers to join the teaching profession. As we go about this important work of reopening our schools, we should expand the New York City Teaching Fellows program. So hire more teachers and reopen the schools. We need to drive adoption of internet access, especially for families with students at home. We need to monitor school attendance and outcomes for these children and ensure they stay connected. We also need to continue to build out this program until every student who is in need has the technology required to attend classes. Wait, why are we building out internet and tech for remote classes? I thought we were reopening the schools.
I joke with folks, the only thing worse than online school is no school. That's a parent joke, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
Not really, Yang. First he says we need to reopen schools, but then he says we need to build out internet access for homeschool. Now he's saying that online school is bad. Make up your mind, Yang. And speaking of online school, in an article in the New York Times, Yang talked about the challenges of working from home. We live in a 2-bedroom apartment in Manhattan, and so can you imagine trying to have 2 kids on virtual school in a 2-bedroom apartment and then trying to do work yourself? Considering that most people who live in New York reside in apartments, yes, I'm sure that they can imagine the challenges. And of course, Yang didn't have those challenges because he packed up the family and spent most of the pandemic 75 miles away from the city in his second home in New Paltz. All of this earned Yang the appropriate backlash from critics online, calling him out of touch, a phrase that will definitely be used against him by his fellow candidates during the election cycle. I can tell already that the Democratic mayoral debates are going to be a lot of fun. So right now in New York City, crime and unemployment is way up, Tons of small businesses have been forced to close, large companies are packing up shop and moving, thousands of people are fleeing the city, while thousands more are on the cusp of eviction. But when you're Andrew Yang, why be laser focused on helping people when TikTok exists? Our administration would also work to attract content creator collectives, such as TikTok hype houses, where young artists collaborate. We need to help create similar artist collectives that utilize new technologies. Not sure how this helps your average New Yorker or anything, but whatever. Everyone loves TikTok, right? Or maybe views on TikTok somehow translate into loaves of bread or something, I don't know. Speaking of social media, the day after he officially announced his run for mayor, he released a video on Twitter.
Breakfast the champions, some green tea, a banana, pretty healthy. Everybody got I'll buy the whole bushel.
Okay, I need to stop right there for a second. This is called a bunch, not a bushel. A bushel is a measurement of volume or weight. For example, this is a bushel of apples. Yang not knowing this is a little ironic, considering that one of his slogans is Make America Think Harder.
I am so excited to be here with you all today. Socially distanced, no one's within, say, 10 feet of me.
Well, except for the people behind him literally standing within 10 feet of him. Math is hard. And it's a little concerning that Yang doesn't seem to have the strength to separate a banana from a bunch, quickly gives up, and just buys the whole thing. You know, just like the everyday average New Yorker.
New York City relies upon its 14,000 bodegas so much. I love bodegas.
Now, there is some controversy using the Spanish word bodegas to describe all convenience stores and delis in New York City, especially in this woke culture where its usage by someone non-Hispanic could be considered to be cultural appropriation. But Yang used the term anyway, despite the fact that the bodega in question has deli in its name, and despite the fact that the owner is of Middle Eastern descent. Regardless, Yang seemed to be trying to pander to the locals and came across as disingenuous.
I love bodegas.
So, does Andrew Yang have a chance of winning? Well, it's too early to tell, but let me introduce you to Yang's main competition, New York City Comptroller Scott Stringer.
I'm Scott Stringer.
And this guy is considered to be the frontrunner, so comparatively, Yang probably has a good chance. And with that said, rest in peace, New York City. Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, sharing, and slamming that like button. A special thanks to Poofy and Tiger for helping me out with research. Follow me on Instagram at Don't Walk Run Productions for occasional photos of me with puppies. Anyway, thanks again for tuning in. Be sure that you're still subscribed to the channel, and hope to see you next time. If there is a next time.